This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network, and the following program is brought to you by the Verdoliak Law Group, fighting insurance companies since 1963, and TickSplits.com. TickSplits.com, no service fees. The price you see is the price you pay.
This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. The following program is recorded live and intended for all audiences.
Radio is scripted now. We just come up with it. We don't use computers. We don't rehearse. We're going to talk about this next. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Bulls. And then we're going to have Brad Bigson. And then we're going to have all this. No. If you don't know what you're going to talk about in the top of your head before a show, you shouldn't be in the business. I don't know what you got. I feel like Vince Vaughn in a couple's retreat. The Sharks are circling. Old school, baby.
You're listening to the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now.
That's right. The Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman. It is Monday night, and that means Mike has another very special guest with him tonight. They're going to talk movies. They're going to talk Chicago sports. They're going to talk comic books. Yeah, I believe they're going to talk comic books. Mike's guest is John Siuntres from CBS Radio. But first of all, let's welcome the star of the show, Mike North. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, Aldo. Appreciate it, buddy. And don't forget, Aldo's going to jump on, ladies and gentlemen. There's Shaky, a couple questions from the chat room and stuff like that. So, Aldo, everything's going good. Coming off a real strong show on Friday, one of the best we've ever done, one of the best I've ever done in my 27 years. Somebody said, well, what does it take to do a great show? And I said, well, you got to be good, but you also got to have a good partner. We had a great report that day. Everything seemed to work. We covered every base, from Jesse Smollett to, the Cubs to whatever. And you know what? We're bringing it right into Mondays. Now, Monday is we have a guest to start things off, and it's always somebody that's good, that's pertinent, that gets it. We've had Chris Zorich. We've had Jimbo Covert. We've had Jesse Rogers. We've had Andy Furman. This guy here, strictly, in my opinion, one of the funniest men I've ever met. There's only a couple other guys I could even think of that are in his category, especially of people I've known, and I've known millions of people. The guy and I did a TV show from Basta Pasta on the northwest side. We're going to talk about that a couple times. We won a couple Emmys, and we had some fun. BB produced that show. He also is at WBBM right now, but he was with the Score. We had some characters, and we're going to bring him on right now because he is a character. He is the king of the dorks. That's what I love to call him, ladies and gentlemen. He fears no man. He is John Shaky Siuntres. Yes, I did give him the moniker Shaky. Right, Shake? Because
Sure.
When you would come in, you'd have your coffee, and it would be spilling all over your hands because, the coffee would spill on them. It was a little painful, but it was some good times, wasn't it?
Trembling at the microphone. Absolutely, Mike. Good to hear from you, man. How you been?
I've been good, brother. First of all, let's get the health stuff out of the way. You had a serious type of situation with your leg, complications, whatever. Stop me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
because I'll probably be wrong due to diabetes maybe or something like that.
Yeah, well,
And,
having diabetes too kind of made it worse. But yeah, I got one of those flesh-eating viruses, and it was on my ankle, and they don't even know how you get it. But because I had diabetes, it kind of made it worse. So yeah, they had to really take a big slice the size of a putting head, like a putter head, out of my ankle, and it's taking its time to heal, but it is healing, and the infection is gone. But I'm sidelined from radio right now. I get to do my podcast still, but I'll be back on BBM hopefully in the next month or so.
Yeah, let's talk about reinventing first, because we could talk about the old days and everything later on. I like reinventing. Okay. I like trying new things. Handicapping was always my passion, but it's I think the next hottest thing, gaming, especially in Illinois. You tapped into the comic books. You tapped into sci-fi. I remember you and I.
Yeah.
I mean, you're the only guy that ever took. When I was in Vegas, you're the only guy that ever got me to leave the casino and go to exhibition, the Star Trek exhibit, and go on the ride. I mean, and then I ended up getting sick. But anyway, yeah, even the roller coaster in New York, after eating a big
that's where
omelet,
we got sick.
after being up all night.
Oh, jeez.
But tell me, first of all, was that your passion more than anything from the beginning? Because sort of like gambling. I started when I was 14. I always loved it, but you knew you couldn't do nothing with it for the time being. And now it seems to be, it's a craze that really started a few years back, but it's picking up steam, isn't it?
No question. And really, Mike, my whole career has been reinventing myself. Because when I first got into radio, I thought I was going to be a music guy. I mean, living in a town where WXRT was, and also being in high school when MTV was happening, that's really when music really took a step forward, just beyond records and radio. And I thought I was going to be a part of that. Then I fell into sports, did my stuff at sports radio at the Score and everything for 9 years, and then and also at Sporting News Radio. But yeah, around 2005 when Batman Begins and movies like Sin City came out, all of a sudden that stuff was happening, and also podcasting was happening. So I decided to get into podcasting in a way that my radio job wouldn't think it's a conflict of interest. So I started talking about sci-fi movies and television and comic books, and I've been doing it for 14 years, and my show's called Word Balloon. It's at wordballoon.com. It's at iTunes, everywhere you can get a podcast. And yeah, honestly, I've had over 8 million downloads since I started the thing back in 2005.
I think the best fun I ever had with you, and I had fun with you whenever we were together, was the Basta Pasta, not the Basta Pasta shows, the Hollywood Casino shows. We had a show on Hollywood Casino, and I'll tell you what happened is, it wasn't the shows. It was the limo ride to the shows and back. Half in the bag, just having laughs, talking about everything that happened that night, sitting there with 8, 9 people, BB, you, me, Jesse, a group of people, and you'd go on stage. You were like a stand-up on the way back. I think when I look back on all the shows we did, the Basta Pasta shows to me are memorable, some of the best TV I think that's ever been done on a local production basis in this town, period. But when I think of those limo rides and just the funny stuff that we talked about and the nonsense, that was a trek. That was like a 4 or 5 hour day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Well, we were going from the suburbs out to Aurora to shoot, the show, and on the way back. So yeah, it was always a long car ride. We were slap happy. Our energy was up from the show, and we were excited about that. And yeah, man. And also, it's that downtime. European says it really well, I think, where on television and radio, you always got a break for commercials and stuff like that. So, having that kind of free time, that's when you cut loose and you really start getting crazy. And yeah, man, I've always done character voices and crazy stuff, and you just can't help it. You pass certain billboards. I mean, we'd always pass Oberweis Dairy. And I mean, that's a great name, Oberweis. And I would go into I'd go into
Colonel Click.
Exactly. Yes, Oberweis. Today, Dairy, come out of the world. You can't help it, man. Poor Jim Oberweis.
You will not march, Oberweis.
Yes. You will come to your knees for a cottage cheese. You can't help it. I mean, and again, we're slap happy from doing the TV show and having a great time with, Wilt Chamberlain or Pete Rose or some of the other greats that we had on.
Remember Mitch Richmond? Mitch Richmond was playing for the Warriors. or Sacramento. And we conned his agent into having him as a guest on the show. And the guy leaves his hotel on his only night off. They're playing the Bulls. Jordan's getting ready to rip them to pieces tomorrow. And I got this guy taking a 40-mile ride to Aurora. He goes, man, where the hell did you drag me? Oh, we had some fun.
Absolutely, man.
I'll tell you, I always liked to give anybody I worked with space. I did. On the radio, I wanted to invent characters for Shaky. That became obsession. Shaky became like an arm. Shaky was a producer, and he produced Boers and McNeil.
That's
he
right.
did stuff with us. He did look, he was one of the guys that helped make that station the #1 sports station of all time, period. And
thank you, buddy.
And I got to tell you something. Jiggs, he was producing a show, and I made up a character on the fly based off my black drill sergeant in the service, Sergeant Marvin Hubbard, who was one of the most influential men I've in my life. Set me straight from day one. I mean, this is the way it's going to be. You know what I mean? One of those guys. With
Sure,
the
man.
drill sergeant cap, the whole thing. The first day, me and two guys are talking in line. He goes, hey, where are you from? I go, me? He goes, yeah, Chicago. Well, Chicago, huh? Tough guy, huh, boy? Why don't you get down and crack me out 50 push-ups now? So then I make up this character for Shake because it was called Smokey the Referee. And we did it about, 8-9 weeks in a row? And then one day, Gleason said that's enough. But Smokey the Referee it wasn't stereotyped. It was a black referee from the 70s. And guess what? Stereotype is trying to say everybody talks this way. We took it off a drill sergeant that I knew. Plus, he was like a combination George Jefferson, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I think you invented the character on the fly, right? Where somebody would commit a play and you'd throw a flag.
Mike, I would do dialects of everybody. I mean, I would do Italian characters. I would do Jewish characters. I'd do Russian characters. It didn't matter because coming from that generation that appreciated voice impressions like Rich Little or guys like Mel Blanc doing cartoons.
Right, Gorshin.
And I mean, honestly, it was a less sensitive time. I mean, it's different now, and I get that. It's funny. I saw Billy Crystal, and one of the last things Rickles did, he did those Dinner with Don YouTube videos. Yeah. And they were talking about Billy Crystal imitating Sammy Davis Jr. And, he used to go on Saturday Night Live in the makeup. And now think of all the media people that are in trouble for innocently doing the inappropriate thing of blackface. And again, it's a different time, and you've got to respect that and everything. And I think we all do. But again, it was a looser time. And it's, again, I don't think it's done with any malice.
So guys going for the ball, and there's a pass interference call. Smokey throws the flag. Smokey the referee, ladies and gentlemen. Can you pick it up from there?
I don't think I think legally I can't. My lawyer's looking at me right now with a gun. And he's like, please don't do it. So I'll do Sid Crunchnick because
do you see how it's gotten?
I understand.
Now?
Mike, I understand.
You know that, but you're still working. I get it. Sid Crunchnick was another guy.
Yeah, well, that was 2,000-year-old man. That was me stealing Mel Brooks. I mean, and just coming up with an old immigrant dialect.
You were covering the Cubs, or you'd be the guy I'd bring on to report. Hey, Sid, what's going on at Wrigley Field?
Oh, there's nothing but heartache and despair right now at Wrigley Field. Oh, the White Sox have it worse. They wanted to get the one guy, and then everything was fine. The stupid Padres take him over. Terrible. And then, of course, there was Father Pat at Notre Dame.
Right. Father Pat. Father, can we say a little prayer before the Cubs play the Giants with Willie Mays?
Look, we don't like reading about losing in the paper. For God's sake, just give us a win. That's all we're asking. It's that classic Irish cop of the Warner Brothers movie.
It's when comedy was fun and you could talk about and make fun of people's different ethnic backgrounds with no backlash, with no nonsense.
Yes.
It's fun. Right. I mean, Lenny Bruce is spinning in his grave right now. Literally, the man who gave up his whole career, period, with help from drugs.
No, you're right, Mike.
Just took a gun. They put a gun to his head. They pulled the bullet. And now he's got to be looking like, what the hell happened?
Yeah, George Carlin, too. No, it's a different time. And I can't. I'm kind of relieved that Carlin left us when he did, because I mean, even clean, just middle of the road kind of comedians like Seinfeld, he never does anything offensive. Even he is like, you got to pick your room and you got to make sure that you're okay with the crowd. College crowds were great for decades with comedy because they wanted to be on the cutting edge of comedy and they wanted the inappropriate stuff, and it was okay. And now it's a safe zone, and you got to worry about not only every ethnicity, every orientation, and it's tougher to do comedy these days. I see it, and it's sad. And I've heard the comedians, the stand-ups say it. I've interviewed comedians that have talked about it in frustration. It's a different time. It's disappointing. hopefully, just like the Victorian age led to the Jazz age, maybe the pendulum will swing back and people will finally say the hell with it and realize and kind of get heart thick
Well,
as
even
skin,
comic
and it'll
books
be
are
okay
taking
again.
hits now. I'm on Twitter
Yes, they
one
are.
night, and I'm on Twitter all the time, and I follow John, and I follow John's career because I love John, and me and B got a long relationship with the guy.
Absolutely.
So I hear you get pissed off at somebody because of people are playing political correctness with comic books now.
Yeah, no, you have to be very careful. Something as innocent as, remember the Gilligan's Island episode where the mad scientist switches everybody's brain? Well, the transgender people, they did that in a comic book, and the transgender community, some people, I shouldn't make a blanket statement. Some people in the transgender community complained about that kind of mind swap device in a comic book story and saying, well, you're mocking our life, the way we live. And it's like, I wasn't even thinking of that. How did you equate what I was doing? And I actually interviewed the writer, and it's like, wow, it sounds like that old Gilligan's Island episode. He said, honestly, that was what was in my mind. This is the minefield of today's sensitivity, and everyone is they're waiting to be insulted, and it's disappointing. Yeah. It really is. And again, it's easy for a straight.
Even radio. I mean, I don't want to get into it, but even radio from '92 and the stuff that I don't know, that the stuff I did that I never gave a second thought, and I'd get, you'd be let go today. I mean,
it's a joke.
It's a joke. It's just a whole. Let's talk about this, Jake. Let's talk about when you worked at the Score, the competitiveness, the feistiness, the desire to win and to be the best station. I've been in some of these radio stations now, and to me, there's no energy. There's no va-va-voom, if you will. There's just, we were fighting in the halls, arguing, coming back, playing kissy face on the air, and arguing back again, and then some guy makes a crack, and then some guy steals a guess. Judge Surratt's going after Jesse, Gleason and McNeil are going at it, North and Cher. What happened? What happened to that? What happened to that workplace? Because you're now in the workplace. And you know what? It's a library now. Let's face it. I'm not talking about where you work. I'm talking about where everybody works for the most part. There's no more Loop. There's no more Score. I'm not sounding old. I'm just trying to recollect. I'm a historian. That was the roaring 20s, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, again, we were coming at the same time as AM 1000 here in Chicago, and Howard Stern in his prime, and all these other things happening all over the country where radio was still vibrant. You could speak your mind. You wanted to entertain. There wasn't the competition that there is now as well. So I do think part of it is that the audience is divided and can be entertained online or streaming or anything else beyond just radio. And yeah, unfortunately, radio plays defense, and it's play it safe. Don't offend anybody. Don't offend the advertisers, obviously. And it's a shame. And I think partially what we were talking about before, specifically in radio, it's part of that same problem of, just be fun, be entertaining, but
here's the problem, Jake.
We didn't watch what he said. We were fearless. We were.
Let me ask you this. When you tell me that the Monsters, Jiggets and North went from 10 to 2 in the old days, and you love them enough, and it's a destination, just like the newspapers with Royko or Cup, or radio.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Okay, there's no more stars, but listen, when you say to yourself, do I want to be in the car if I'm a salesman and listen to these guys and get my office work done early, or or Dahl, or anybody that you liked? And you got to time it. Now, what they do with radio is they pay these guys 10 cents on the dollar, but they also tell you, look, we know our product's average, so we're on from 12 to 3. If you don't hear them then, hey, give us a listen on the podcast. The radio used to be destination. There's not a destination for the most part anymore. I'm not saying there isn't one, but there used to be 10, 12, 14 choices in one city alone, and you don't have that anymore.
No, you don't. Well, again, people would try to entertain, and they would be funny and be interesting. I don't mind time shifting. I slightly disagree where I don't think time shifting is the problem. The ability to be able to hear it later. I agree in terms of gathering the audience at one time. There is a value to that. But I also think, again, it's just that They have to play it safe because of the FCC. The FCC's gotten tighter than it was in the 70s or 80s or 90s.
It's unbelievable.
All this stuff.
It's sad.
And now online, I mean, God, again, that's one of the reasons why I did a podcast. I started doing characters on the radio because I grew up with guys like the Committee and the Credibility Gap, guys like the guys from Spinal Tap. They were all doing sketch radio comedy. And there were, even in Chicago, we had the Usual Suspects, and they were guys from Second City that would do comedy bits on XRT. So really, when I got to the Score, my feeling was, hey, I'll do some parodies. I'll do fun.
Right.
And now they grow. Now everybody, all the sports people, they're all too straight-laced. There's no fun.
Oh my God, no, we don't want to get into that. I just know, I know good radio, good TV when I see it, and you know what, you are part of a lot of stuff, TV, radio, the comic book genre now. I mean, but we had fun doing it. And you know what? I was going to say, what is disappointing to you right now? Is it what we were just basically talking about? That it's like we're back in the 50s with radio, the way that we had to listen in the back seat of our car when our dad was driving the 1962 Mercury Comet.
Well, yeah, again, I mean, I think we again, you mentioned Steve Dahl and the other guys like Kevin Matthews and Brandmeier and guys of The Loop and AM 1000. And also, honestly, I appreciated the fact that you were willing to give me the platform so that we could cut loose and have fun. I mean, we get Tony Orlando in studio and we'd have a ball with him. Or Shecky Green. I get to swap one-liners with Shecky Green and do my old Jewish man, and he and I are going back and forth doing, Yiddish dialect to each other and having a ball. Well,
Tony Orlando. Remember, he says to me, Mike, how can I get this thing take me out at the ball game? Right on the air, he's telling us. I go, are you out of your mind? You're Tony Orlando and Dawn. I go, tie a yellow ribbon. You want it? So Jesse and I got on the phone to John McDonough a week later. Tony Orlando singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game."
Cool.
That same weekend. It didn't even take that long. While he was in town.
I think we did it like 2 days later or something.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh my God! Sang not 3 times. Not 3 times on the ceiling if you want me, and you can't sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Right?
Absolutely. Well, he didn't know who to call, but of course, you guys knew who to call. No, it's fantastic. Honestly, that or my favorite was when you had Mickey Mantle in studio, and Jesse called Yogi Berra because he thought it'd be great to have them talk to each other, and Yogi didn't want to do it initially, but then he's like, "Wait a minute," and he goes, "Actually, I do want to talk to Mick," and all he wanted to do was tell Mickey when he comes to St. Louis, Vito Canafusco is going to pick you up. Not Tony Brown. Goodbye. And he hung up. And that's all Yogi. It was classic Yogi. And we got it on the score.
Mickey goes to Yogi. Mickey goes to Yogi. He says, "Hey, how come every time I do this stuff for you, I can't even get a ride from the airport? I got Tony and Amani coming down to get you. Then we're going to Tony's on Pill Hill, and then we're going to go eat." And stuff, and they're making their plans. And then Yogi, it was a golf tournament, hands the phone off to Ted Williams, and he says hello.
Yes.
And that was unbelievable. Ted Williams, Yogi Berra, and Mickey Mantle, all at the same time on the station. So those were some fun times, man. They really.
Oh my God!
Shaky, I didn't know Jim DeRogatis was almost like a brother. Could be a brother of yours. Now you know who Jim DeRogatis is, don't you?
Yeah, I know Jim, the rock critic. Sure.
Right.
Is he a brother of mine? Does he look like me?
Wait, I didn't say he was. Wait a minute. Take it easy. I know you can get Steven. You got that Greek. I know you can take a break, okay? All I'm saying is I saw him the other day because of the R. Kelly thing, and he was one of the first guys to out Art Kelly back in 2000. And him and this other reporter, I go, hey, Jim's a good guy, and he sort of looks like Shaky a little bit, don't you think?
Oh, my God.
Well, no,
right.
I haven't seen him. I just saw his face. I don't know if he's big fat. Am I saying something that's going to make you upset with me and make you want to hang up the phone?
I'd prefer to be compared to Robert Goulet, but okay, if we're going to go with Jim DeRogatis, it's okay.
All I'm saying is, never mind. Let's move on. Okay. I just thought that's all I want to do. I just want to move on. I feel like I'm in a box. I can't get out of. Okay. That's all I want to tell you.
No, it's all good. I
saw the Green Book. I predicted it would win. Viggo Mortensen, I thought, did a great acting job, but he was nowhere to be found. And believe me, I can't name you many Viggo Mortensen movies that are any good. I liked that the movie
Eastern Promises, man. Eastern Promises was a great Viggo Mortensen movie.
Eastern Dad. It's not like he's not like. I know. I understand. He's in Harry Potter. A lot of the movies, for some reason, his movies passed me up. I was happy with him in this movie. I thought he should have gotten more consideration. But did you think that I thought the Green Book was a cinch. Other people were saying it was going to be this or that, or Star is Born, or one of these other movies. I thought the Green Book covered all the bases. I did.
Yeah, it had a good message, and two guys from different places and different colors get together. No, I think it had a really nice message, and I get, there are other interesting movies. It was I found it to be a great year. I saw Dan McNeil kind of complaining. Really, Vice was a great movie. The Favorite was a great movie with, all the women and everything. Everything was terrific, and I honestly, Bohemian Rhapsody, of course, and that's the thing. I think everything got acknowledged. I thought it was a very democratic Oscars this year, where I can't think of any. The only guy that was disappointed was Spike Lee, and again, much like the year of Do the Right Thing, he won it for his script, but didn't win the big movie. But that's a controversial movie. I think the Green Book movie shows black and white.
Can I ask you about his outfit, Shake? Listen, he consciously picked that out. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Who said that? I forget which actress said, Spike, you and I, we both. Oh, it was Barbara Streisand. She's like, Spike, I love you. You and I, we both love hats. And it was hilarious. That was a great line.
I thought that they pulled off a pretty good Oscars, considering I just watched the highlights, but I didn't hear a lot of complaining. Very little political talk, which turns a lot of people off. And I thought that for the most part they stayed to the script. Spike Lee was predictable. He was, and a little bit ungracious, I thought, but that's the way it goes. You just handle that. But I thought that the movies, Bohemian Rhapsody, I thought the kid deserved to win Best Actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor. He's a very good actor. Yes.
Yes, I loved that movie. I loved, I loved Viggo and the Green Book. I loved that movie. I can't, and I don't know why, I got a mental block about Star is Born. I do, because I'm sick and tired of hearing that Bradley Cooper wrote it. He plagiarized it. He changed it. Okay,
yeah, you're right. Well, it's literally the fifth, Mike. It's literally the fourth remake and the fifth time they've done this story, going back to Frederick March and Janet. I forget her name.
Gaynor. So Janet Gaynor.
Well, Janet Gaynor. There you go. In the 30s. Yes.
Right.
So, and that's the thing.
1929.
But also,
Star is Born.
Yeah, but also in fairness, every version of it has been interesting. Of course, the great one with James Mason and Judy Garland is an absolute film classic. The original is an absolute film classic.
I like the first one better. I like the first one better, but I thought Streisand and Christopherson, I'm thinking, I haven't seen this one yet, but Bradley Cooper's version, isn't Gaga Streisand and Bradley Cooper Christopherson with alterations?
Yeah, but I would say that, again, because they are different actors, you could say that about Judy Garland and Streisand or James Mason and Christopherson, frankly.
Know.
But honestly, I do think Bradley Cooper really has grown. I first saw him back on Alias, the Jennifer Garner TV show, when he was the boy next door. And he has really grown from action hero to American Sniper to the Hangover movies, and now doing very serious films. And truly, I think much like Christopherson, in a very positive way, I think he presented a very complicated character in this film.
I'm glad it didn't win.
I am too, honestly.
Be honest with you. I don't want remakes winning. I don't.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, honestly. I really do. And as good as, just like An Affair to Remember was both Love Affair with Charles Boyer and then Love Affair afterwards with Annette Bening and Warren Beatty. There's nothing wrong with the remake. But I do think it is the lower, again, give me something original.
Don't tell me the guy wrote it. The guy took took 3 different other movies of the same ilk and just changed some things around. That's all the game. He rearranged the furniture. That's all the guy did. Don't pretend he's a genius here, because let me tell you something. If me and Shaky write a song and it sort of sounds like a Marvin Gaye song, we're getting sued. We're getting sued.
That's true.
But then this guy can write a whole damn movie based on the other 3 movies, call it the same thing. Have Gaga, who is she's the current day Streisand. I mean, the kids don't even realize it.
Oh, no,
the kids don't even realize it. They're more square than we were. They're more square than we were. She's going to be Streisand 20 years from now, and Brad Cooper is a hell of an actor. I loved him in Hangover. I loved him even in Wedding Crashers when he plays the husband or the fiancé, the football player.
There you go.
Just tremendous.
Yep.
I think he's great, but I think he was an okay singer. And by the way, his girlfriend is nothing to worry about. They were acting, right, Shake? On the Oscars when him and Gaga were looking at each other. My God.
When they sang. Oh, yeah. Please. What do you think Barry Gibb and Barbra Streisand went off after they sang Guilty and were in the back room getting down? Give me or Neil Diamond and Barbara, well, you don't give me flowers anymore? Come on. Give me a break.
Travolta said no thanks for Olivia Newton-John. He said no thank you.
God, they did a Christmas song. Did you see that Christmas song they did about 5 years ago? It was really embarrassingly goofy. And he flew in and he goes...
John, my girl, Olivia and Travolta?
And Travolta. Yes, look for it on YouTube. Seriously, it is the creepiest thing in the world. And it's like, wow, would you just sing, you're the one that I want from Grease and leave us alone?
I love that song. But you know what's crazy about Travolta? I saw him lately. He almost is starting to look like the alien he played in that bad movie, Battleground Mars or whatever. He's starting to look like...
Oh, no, Battlefield Earth.
Battlefield Earth. He's starting to look like the guy.
Oh, my God.
It's weird.
That's hilarious.
Oh, he's dyed his hair black. You know what I mean? It's sort of scary.
Yeah.
But he's an icon. He's an icon.
He is an icon, right? But he's definitely on a downturn right now. It's certainly not the 90s. and his great run during the 90s of all those top movies and everything. No, it's been a bad 2000s for Travolta. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, hey, Shake, I'll tell you what. We got Eldo here. Eldo, say hello to Shake. I'm sure you got some questions for him, my friend.
I got a couple of questions. We haven't talked comic books, so I wanted to get from Shaky, for those people who don't really read comic books right now, but are interested maybe in picking up a comic book and looking into that art form. What do you recommend out there for a guy who's typically a sports fan and is interested in looking into that artwork? What do you recommend that they read?
Well, the great thing, Aldo, is beyond everyone thinks of superheroes, and certainly the superhero movies are doing really well. There's every genre represented as far as storytelling in comics, just like film, just like television, just like novels. So there are great crime comics. If you like a good noir detective story, there are books like Criminal and Powers is a cop procedural that's like any great cop procedural, like True Detective or something like that on HBO. You can find comic books like that. Writers like Greg Rucka, Brian Bendis, Matt Fraction. Any genre, and really the art is much more sophisticated. A lot of people, I love taking them into comic book stores and showing them today's art because they're expecting High and Lois or Peanuts, the stuff you see in the Sunday Funnies. Mm-hmm. And there is stuff like that, but there's also really great artists that are beautiful illustrators. And if you think back to the great paperback covers of the 50s and 60s or the romance covers of the 70s, there's that kind of artist in comic books. And really, I mean, they're paper movies. They really are. And that's why not only are we getting the superhero movies, but another Viggo Mortensen movie, History of Violence, that was a comic book. Mm-hmm. Road to Perdition, the great Tom Hanks, Paul Newman movie, that was a comic book. I mean, that's the thing. So Hollywood is wised up. And, of course, Walking Dead and all the success that's been happening on both cable television
and
basic
Dead?
Cable.
Black Panther. Black Panther walked that last night at the Academy Awards.
That's
what walked that. I'm tired of hearing about it. It sucked from what I hear.
No, it was an amazing movie, and it was a cultural moment, frankly. And honestly, much like when Heath Ledger got the Best Actor nomination for playing the Joker in the Batman movie, The Dark Knight, that's enough. That's okay. I mean, and obviously it's easy for me to say it, but I really do. I mean, the soundtrack is incredible for Black Panther. Not just the score, and it won for the score, but really the hits, the
I thought
music,
Jack
the hip hop.
Nicholson was a better. Didn't Didn't Jack Nicholson do a better job than Heath Ledger? I know Heath Ledger was more demented and more crazed-looking, like De Niro, like in Cape Fear. Robert Mitchum, to me, did a better villain in Cape Fear than Robert De Niro, but De Niro put the tattoos on, made himself look a little crazier. I thought Nicholson's rendition of the Joker was more to the comic book. I really did. What did you think, Shake?
Well, I think they both actually reflect different eras of the comic book. I mean, I think Nicholson was doing a Cesar Romero comedy spin, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's fantastic.
I love Cesar Romero.
But really, the Joker in current hands is really a psychopathic killer, and that's what Heath Ledger brought. And I think, I thought it was a great performance. And Christian Bale too, and I really loved Christian Bale in Vice this year. I thought he was incredible as Dick Cheney. I thought he was amazing.
Anything that he can get a chance to gain weight in.
Exactly.
American Hustle. American Hustle. Viggo Mortensen put on 55 pounds, Aldo, to play the role of the bouncer and the protector of the guy in, of course, the Green Book. Aldo, another question, my friend.
Yeah, Steven Zimmerman suggests Israel Adonijah's comic website. Israel, of course, the former Chicago Bear, who has now been doing the artwork for the Chicago Bears marketing program, but he also does these athletic comics. Now, I haven't read any of those. John, have you? And what do you think of them?
I have, and Iz is working with some really great comic book people like Ron Mars, who has been an amazing writer for DC and Marvel, wrote things like Green Lantern and things like that. Yeah, it is a fun series. And Bart Sears, the artist, is a wonderful comic book artist, did Captain America and other top Marvel and DC characters for them. And so Iz has really put together a really good comic book think tank, and he loves it. And I've seen him at conventions, and I've had the pleasure of having him on my podcast and talking about his comic books. They're a lot of fun.
Very cool. Now,
I'll tell you what, anything else, Aldo?
I've got one more, and this is for both of you. We, of course, know that there's a movie in the work on Mike's career and his life. And so my question for both of you is, outside of Mike North, what other Chicago radio or TV personality would you like to see an autobiography movie done on?
I got mine, Mike. You want to go ahead? I would say honestly, the phenomenon of Bozo Circus, from its beginning to its end, I think would make an excellent look at Chicago television. And by all means, Bob Bell and Joey Diaria, but everybody that was involved in that show, the impact that show had on not only Chicago but nationally, you can't deny it. And I think would make an excellent movie.
I like that.
Yeah, and I'm with John on that as far as even I think if they did a movie on just the production work from Dick Tracy to Andy Starr, the old Odeon Theater for the Three Stooges, Ray Rayner, Bob Bell playing him, the production of the Ray Rayner show in the morning, all the live shows that they actually did. The Bozo shows were every day for an hour. I went to the Bozo show as a kid. It was like being on a Hollywood set. It was like being on a Hollywood set. It was crazy.
Absolutely.
It was cameras. It was crazy. Bozo says
hi to orchestra.
You're walking in, right?
Right.
Yeah, a full orchestra playing the big top band. It was like a piece orchestra. It was amazing. And you're right about that. And it's that I'm sure you guys saw that Mr. Rogers documentary that HBO is running this month, and it made the theaters and everything.
Yeah, you know what? They're taking up my channel. They're taking up the channel. Are they almost done with that thing? Right? My God.
No, I think honestly,
I want to go out and skip. I want to go out and skip when I watch that thing.
The 50s through the 80s with television, where every city had to make its own entertainment. That was a wonderful time, and I really think going back, and really you could say the same thing about Philadelphia. You could say the same thing about Los Angeles.
Yep. American Bandstand.
Of course.
American Bandstand every day, every afternoon out of Philadelphia. Live show, Dick Clark, 3 to 4:30. Are you kidding me? They're doing it every day with live cameras, no screw-ups. And by the way, Shake, Captain Kangaroo in a street fight would kick your Mr. Rogers' ass any day of the week, and you know it.
Because Mr. Green Jeans would come Mr. Green Jeans would come off camera and start beating him with a shovel or something like that.
That's exactly right. Shake, we appreciate it, brother.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you jumping on, man. And let us know once again where you can be found.
Wordballoon.com. Wordballoon.com. That's where my podcast is. I have new episodes every week, and it's a lot of fun conversation about, as you said, King of the Nerds. It's a lot of nerd talk.
You are the best. You are the king. You're the king of a lot of things, John. Funny man. Take care, brother.
Thanks for having me on, Mike. Always a pleasure.
All right, John. This is John
care, John.
Shaky Siuntres. Here he is, ladies and gentlemen. My partner in crime, Aldo Gandia. And, boy, I'll tell you, a lot of interesting stuff. John's been around and involved in a lot of interesting stuff. And he's still a young guy, Aldo. Now he's turned on comic books, but TV, radio, comedy. We met Rickles. We met Bud Schulberg, the guy that wrote On the Waterfront. John introduced me to the guy.
Wow.
And, I mean, to me, I met him, and it didn't even encapsulate what it meant to meet him at that time, that he wrote such a great movie. And I met him at Madison Square Garden when John and I used to go to New York and watch the boxing matches with, guys like Pernell Sweet Pea Whitaker, Oscar De La Hoya. We used to get tickets to the HBO fights all the time, and we'd jump on a plane and go see a big boxing guy. We'll have to get him again on some other time because we were on time to constraints, but he could talk boxing too. But he was interesting, and he's the type of guest that shows need. You can't always get the home run guests where they like the Tonight Show. The Tonight Show lived off guests like John Shaky Siuntres.
Oh, yeah.
Because they'd only get great guests every so often, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, but John is so smart and so talented. When he's doing those voices, he had me rolling. I mean, this guy is really a very talented broadcaster. He really is.
Speaking of talent, how the hell are you, handsome?
I am doing
How about that show we did the other day? I got to tell you something. If there's a National Archive of shows, that should be in the National Archive.
Friday show was a blast. It really
Are you kidding me?
Really
we covered
was.
everything, and then there's this one guy. I got to read this. Listen, I've been saying for 20, I used to tell Jiggins, we'll never do a perfect show, no matter how good people think we are. And Jigs would go, I don't know about that. Sometimes things can happen. And I go, I can tell you, Jigs will never do one. Oh, we'll see about that. Anyway, then, the other day, I think we did close to a perfect show. What do I have to read on Twitter? It says, how come you guys didn't talk about White Sox? Hey, junior program director, take a kite and go fly it. It was a great show, and the Sox aren't pertinent. How's that? They can't even get anybody to sign with them. They're getting Irvin Santana to sign for him now. The guy's got an arm like mine. I don't even know if he can reach 60 feet. I'm sorry, Aldo. I had to get it off my chest. It's been bothering me for 3 days.
To that person and all White Sox fans, I'm not going to give away who you have planned as a guest on a future show, but I'm going to tell you.
I'll tell everybody what we were supposed to do.
Okay.
Hawk Harrelson was supposed to do the show tonight.
That's right.
But then he had to deal with his grandson, so he couldn't do it. So he's going to come on again. I'm not going to say when. It could be next week, but I'm not going to tell anybody until the day up. That's why I didn't divulge the guest to Aldo. I wanted to make sure. And then I had to find another guest. And you know what? I said, let's get Shaky on tonight, because I was going to have Shaky come on in a couple weeks anyway. And I just reversed everything. And now hopefully he'll be able to come on. But I got 2 or 3 other big-time guests coming on. We've had nothing but great guests. But if you want knowledge, Shaky's as good as it gets about the media business and about anything else.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing with Shaky. He could talk about any topic, from movies to comics to sports to you name it. That's why he's a great guest. And when we have Hawk on, that's going to be a ton of blast. Already we got reaction.
And that White Sox fan guy will be happy. He can take the heat off us, for God's sake. By the way, I had lunch today with Eddie Verdoliak, Pete Verdoliak, some people out there at Rosemont. Carmine's in Rosemont. Eddie is 81 years old now. I still call him Fast Eddie.
Of course.
He's one of the all-time greats. Verdoliak has been good to us at the barroom and stuff like that. I talked to Pete about some stuff, and we had a great time. We had some good fun. And, boy, you want to talk about a guy that's had a career in Chicago, Eddie Verdoliak.
Oh, my God.
And we talked about Console Wars.
Hey,
he told me Console Wars, man. He goes, there was a rough time, man. He goes, there was a rough time.
Let me tell you something, Mike. You talk about movie ideas. A movie on Verdoliak would be outstanding, wouldn't it? I mean, this guy.
Well, I suggested it to him.
Really?
I said, what about Console Wars? You know what he said?
Uh-huh.
He says, and I think I could talk off. It wasn't off the record. I mean, there's stuff we talk about we wouldn't say on the air.
Sure.
But he said, I'll tell you, he says, Console Wars, that was a bad time for me.
Oh, really?
He says, but I did what I thought I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, you had guts, and, you made a name for yourself, and you did things. But he got tons of death threats. he told me, during that time. Tons of death threats.
Oh, I bet.
And,
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that'd be a good movie, but boy, he seemed like he didn't really want to even broach it. I think he's 81. He's got a brother that's 87 now that's doing okay, but he's got to look out for him and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's reached a point where, I mean, he's still got his energy. He's still sharp as a tack. He took over the table today that we were at. We had some good times, some good laughs, but he's also had some issues that wear a person down. There's no two ways about it.
Oh, my gosh,
and he was the target back then.
yeah.
That it would be a good movie. I think they should do a movie on Mayor Daley.
Yeah.
The first Mayor Daley.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
For sure.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
that would be great.
That should be like a 10-part
the last great
series.
boss of city politics.
Oh, you ain't
When
kidding.
patronage was good.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago was a great city because of patronage. Because you owed somebody something for a job, that means you would show up to the job, you wouldn't screw up. And, if more cities had done it's amazing. People talk about patronage and how it was bad and how the judges stopped it. Chicago was the only city worth a damn back then.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All the other cities, like Detroit, didn't have patronage.
Yep.
And they were all falling apart. You had organizations keeping their workers in line. Of course, they had to do work for the politicians, which people thought was wrong. But you know what? I never cared about buying political tickets. You're going to give me a $60,000, $70,000 a year job? I'll buy a table for $1,000. You know what I mean? That's just the way it was done.
Yes, absolutely. I love it.
You don't complain about that, the media.
Yeah.
And they ruined it for the families.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was.
The ward bosses used to be in charge of the neighborhoods, and the neighborhoods they were like 50 different city halls at these ward things. So if somebody needed a garbage can, they could get it. If somebody needed this, sure. Will you vote for me if I get you a garbage can? Well, yeah. Good, you better, because you won't get a garbage can. That's just the way it was.
You get a garbage can without a top.
Right. Get a garbage can without a bottom. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I planted a tree for a guy. I worked for the 49th Ward.
Yeah.
I got a guy a tree.
Nice.
I got the guy I got people garbage cans. I got, but they knew you come vote for Paul Wagoda. Vote for Neil Hardigan for committeeman.
Oh,
Neil
Hardigan.
blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Richard Mell was my alderman, 33rd Ward. That guy
my
ruled
God,
for a long
Dick
time.
Mell. Council Wars. Remember Council Wars with him? That was great.
Absolutely. Zim in the chat room says they should turn Boss, the Mike Reichel book, into a movie or maybe something like a 10-part HBO or Netflix series. I think that's a great idea because that story.
Boss.
Oh.
What a book.
What a book.
What a book.
Mr. Roy. Did you ever meet Mike Reichel?
No, I never met him. They tell me about him. A lot of people tell me I'm like him in a lot of ways, but I was a better softball player. But he promoted 16-inch softball. He was a drinker, good drinker. He had his DUI problems. But he was a star.
Right.
You have to have stars. They don't have stars anymore. They want to pay everybody the same. They want to go on the cheap.
Yep.
So they get the products that they're asking for. We just talked to Shaky about that, and Royko was a star. Cupson was a star.
Yeah.
I mean, these were giants in the business, and they were newspaper people. The sports, Rick Talley.
Rick Talley.
Remember Rick Talley?
Yeah,
he was the
Chicago
first
American.
of the big guys. They brought him in from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Skip Bayless, Jay Mariotti. Those days are gone, man.
Yeah, how about that?
They really are. Those guys would write and they'd tell it like it is, and then they'd get, they would. Some of them lasted longer than others. Even Bob Green. I mean, these guys were there. They were pretty good.
They were
pretty good. But Royko's going to always be the standard bearer on as far as print is concerned.
Yeah, I'm surprised that because Royko, besides Boss, didn't he write a couple of other books? Or maybe Boss was the only one.
Not many. I mean, Boss is the big one.
Yeah.
I mean, it was one of the few books I ever read.
Yeah.
But I knew Mayor Daley. I met Mayor Daley. It was a thrill. I met him. It felt like I met God. That's who he was. Mm-hmm. That guy was mayor from the time I was 6 years old in 1958 till I was like 24.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, the guy was the mayor for my whole lifetime. He was like our father, for God's sake.
Yeah.
He was the only mayor. You saw him on TV every night.
Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness!
You know, during the news, they covered City Hall. There were only 3-4 channels.
Right. He was the kind of stereotypical big boss, mayor type.
Yep.
I don't think he smoked cigars, but you'd almost picture that he would be chomping on a cigar, backroom deals and stuff like that.
Very short man.
Yes,
short
exactly.
but tall.
Right.
He looked tall, but he was short. His stature was immense as a person, as far as just his physical presence. You knew you were meeting greatness. He was a great politician. You could say anything you want about him. He basically, and I don't know if this was a feather in his cap, but he loved Chicago so much that it didn't matter who was telling him how to run Chicago. It could have been anybody. But Martin Luther King came into town to make with all sorts of demands, and he left town with his tail between his legs. He said it's the worst, because Daley wouldn't give in to him. But then what happened was Daley and him did sign an agreement to work together, and they did, and then they ended up building some very nice. I'm not talking about Cabrini Green. Some other low-income housing, and Daley and him also worked together on the formation at the beginning of HUD. So they had. Daley didn't like a gun being held to his head, but he did promise to work with him, and he did. And that's what good politicians do.
Yep. Hart 4803 reminds us that Len O'Connor was a great political commentator. Yes, he was.
Mayor Daley in the city council today said Len O'Connor was a very unattractive, Bolshevik-looking man, weighed about 280 pounds, and he talked like this. I'm Len O'Connor, and Mayor Daley said today that, very staid. Len O'Connor was great. I mean, we used to have characters. You remember? We used to have characters.
Gosh, yes. There was a period in time in Chicago television news and sports where the TV executives didn't care what you looked like. They just would put people on the air that were just rotten ugly, man.
P.J. Hoff would come on. P.J. Hoff. Fraser Thomas. These guys weren't matinee idols.
Oh, no. Hugh Hill. Hugh Hill is another name. Great reporter.
Hugh Hill, the orange man. Yes. Hugh Hill had orange hair before Trump. Hugh had orange hair. We called him the orange man. You would actually see him, and he'd have a glowing orange face like a pumpkin. It was unbelievable. He was orange in public.
Yes. Fahey Flynn.
Can I tell you something, though?
Please.
I'll never forget. There were riots at Sen in 1968 because of all the stuff that was going on with the King shootings, the Kennedy shootings.
Sure.
So there was riots at Sen High School because we had about 3,400 students, and there was some racial strife like in a lot of schools.
Oh yeah.
And Frank Matthey covered it, and Frank Matthey was like a newsman. And years later, I said, "Do you remember going to Sen in the 60s?" When I met him later,
right,
and I was in the business,
right.
He goes, "Oh yeah, I went to Sen a couple times in the 60s." I go, "You know what?" I said, "Hi, Frank," and you said hi back to me. He goes, "Get out of here." I go, "No." See, and meeting those guys later on in the business was crazy. Yeah. It really was, because the TV anchors are the movie stars of Chicago.
Yes,
they're the movie stars. I mean, I had a thing I had Kathy Brock sat in with me.
Oh, nice.
Joan Esposito.
Oh.
Mary Ann Childers. Listen to this lineup I had come in.
Wow.
I mean, I had the top. I don't care. Say whatever. Top prime. You know what I mean? I had the top anchor women. Allison Payne. Kathy Brock.
Yes.
Joan Esposito.
Man.
Mary Ann Childers. I'm trying to think who else I had come in.
Linda McLennan?
Linda came in, big time.
Deborah
Linda
Norville?
hosted more than once with me.
Oh, nice. What about Deborah Norville? Gorgeous blonde.
No, never had Deborah Norville. She had left already. But I had the prime. Any anchor woman, if I called them and said, "You want to host the show with me?" they came on.
Oh,
it was great.
That's awesome.
They were the best. There's nothing like, you're all tensed up about, a big cup trade, and you look over and Joan Esposito's fixing her makeup.
Nice. What about Jane Pauley? Jane Pauley, Hart wants to know. Jane Pauley, who's...
you're going back to the prehistoric times, Jane Pauley. For God's sake. Who you going to bring up, Lee Phillip? Lee Phillip next? I'm afraid you're going to... By the way, Phillip may be the most talented female
yes.
performer ever in the Chicago local production.
Very talented woman. Very talented.
In fact, she did some soap operas.
Yes, exactly. The Young and the Restless, I believe, was hers.
Yeah. So she's as talented as they come.
Mm-hmm.
Eileen Phillip was another one we grew up with.
That's right.
As kids. She was always on the TV. I was on Romper Room.
You were on Romper Room?
I was on Romper Room. I was on for a week. I got pictures.
What was
WGN TV. I sat next to the mailbox.
What was the name of the woman that hosted Romper Room? She was a
the one I got pictures of her out Miss Ding Dong School was the national one. That was Miss Francis. Okay? But I don't remember the lady's name on Romper Room.
Greg Braggs wants to know if Rita Hayworth was on your show. Greg is needling you.
Rita Hayworth?
Rita, I don't know why he would bring that up, but
Rita, I love Rita Hayworth.
Oh my gosh, who doesn't? That's
Rita
right.
Rita Hayworth was great, but she wasn't a good actress.
Who was?
But she married a prince. She married a prince before Grace Kelly.
Really? I didn't know that. Wow, good for her.
Prince Ali Khan. You can check it out. I don't know what Greg meant. I'm always good to Greg, but I got a feeling there was an underlying thing he said. I don't understand.
I don't know either. Oh, he's making a reference to Shawshank Redemption, which I'm still.
Well, Raquel Welch was in that too. That was my girl.
Yes.
Raquel Welch was my girl. Always will be my girl. You know. People don't know that she's a Puerto Rican American.
That's right.
People don't know that about Raquel. She's unbelievable. If I met Raquel Welch today, I might almost faint. We were kids. I mean, seriously, she's like Sinatra to me. We were kids, and you know what? She was always respectful. Never got nude. Never got naked. She kept her dignity for the most part, and. She was an okay actress, but she was the queen. I think she's the greatest pinup girl of all time, in my opinion.
Oh, my gosh. I remember when I lived in New York, I was around 6 or 7 years old. My mother and brother were out shopping and so forth, and my dad looked at me and he says, "You want to go see a movie?" And we got on the New York subway, and out of the subway steps, we came out, and across the street, I saw the big marquee with the big picture of Raquel Welch in 1 million years BC.
Oh, yeah, baby.
Oh, my gosh. I know.
She's unbelievable.
I think,
she looks great now.
Yes.
She's in her, mid-70s.
Yeah. I think puberty hit in that day when I saw that movie. I was like, holy cow, what's going on here?
Yeah. She's one of the all-time greats. She really is as far as lookers and pinup girls, and she was a good businesswoman. She's kept herself in the limelight, but she's never overdone it. And she was one of my favorites. She really was. She was an okay actress. I'm not going to lie and say she was a great actress.
No,
but she was okay.
Yeah, she was okay. She made some pretty decent movies. There's a movie where she played a roller derby.
Kansas City Bomber.
That's it. And I've been looking for that movie for the longest time just to see it.
It's good. I've seen it a couple times. It's good.
Yeah.
She's very green. She also made a movie with Mae West, and she made I think it was called Modesty Blaze. I can't remember what it was. Oh, Myra Breckinridge.
Oh, okay.
Myra Breckinridge. It was one of the weird movies in the 70s.
What about she did a movie with Jim Brown? Okay. She did a movie with Cleveland Browns running back Jim Brown, and that was kind of a controversial.
100 rifles. He got his way with her, I heard.
Yes, I heard.
I heard he laid down the size each. That's it. What can I tell you?
Oh, John Siuntres, if you're listening, you probably should have stayed for the second half hour because this is fun stuff.
We have our own little damn brand of humor. You know that, Aldo.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Mike.
But
I wanted to, before we sign off, I wanted to get your report on how you did with your picks on Friday.
I did 1-1.
Excellent.
So we're 6-2. Davidson won for me.
They never let you down, those guys.
Davidson is we don't want to know anything about him. We don't want to get nosy. Just keep producing for us. We were 1-1. I also want to wish a happy birthday to
I want to thank Tanya, Jack, and Ron.
Ron Santos' birthday.
Oh, Ronnie.
One of the all-time greats.
Absolutely.
One of the all-time greats. And Fergie Jenkins wished him a happy birthday. What a pitcher he was. 6 20-game seasons. Also, Bryce Harper's not signed yet.
What is going on there?
I think they're going to go with the shorter deal.
Really?
They told him, you're not getting 10 years. You got too much baggage. You know, the guy fought teammates. He got in arguments. He was pulled from games for lack of hustle.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's not just about, like, hitting homers. You got to be a good teammate. I think word got around. People are afraid to take a chance. I called this a long time ago. I don't know why people didn't listen to me. I don't know when they're going to start listening to me. I would only hope they will listen to me sooner or later in their damn lives that I know what I'm talking about. This guy is not worth $40 million. Now, maybe he'll get $33 million, but for 3 years.
Yeah, right.
That's a lot different than $30 million for 10 years.
Absolutely. That's just way too much money for a ball player. Hey, Greg Braggs.
Well, for him especially.
Greg Braggs wants to thank you for throwing that bonus pick his way, the Purdue-Nebraska game. He says that you got that right and you won him some dough. So
I won Glenn. Yeah, Glenn was asking, what do you think about this game? And I said, well, Glenn, I looked at it for you. I'll get back to you. So I looked at it for about 15 minutes.
You did the thing that you do.
And I said, you know what? I said, if I was going to bet it, I'd take Nebraska plus the 6, and Nebraska covered. So I'm glad I won him some money.
Yeah.
I jump on Twitter with free picks. I'm so damn good. I'm not greedy. I'm going to share the wealth.
Absolutely.
That's all.
Hey, I apologize.
And the Bears Barroom's giving me a good platform to do it. I mean, and I get to meet a lot of people, and some guys are good like Glenn, and some guys are real loyal. So, maybe he's chasing. I don't know. Maybe he needs a win. Maybe he just wants to continue a winning streak. So I just said, you know what? I'll look at it for you. I don't mind doing it for people that are good to us.
Yeah.
And so maybe if people quit trying to tell us when to talk about the White Sox, I'll give out more picks. How's that?
Hey, Mike, I apologize. I accidentally pressed the button on Spike Lee's acceptance speech. It went something like this.
I want to thank Tanya Jackson Satchel. The word today is irony. The date, the 24th, the month, February, which also happens to be the shortest month of the year, which also happens to be Black History Month. The year 2019, the year 1619. History, her story. 1619, 2019.
Mike, what the hell is he talking about? Do you have any idea?
I'm going to tell you something. First of all, he comes on with the butler's outfit or the chauffeur's outfit. I didn't need that. Okay? Second of all, he comes on with this mumble jumble, and then even the president tweets out. He says, "Look, if you're gonna race bait and do this, at least why you have to read off the paper? At least get the sentence right, So everybody had their fun with it today. I thought he was a little ungracious. That's just me. I've had lunch with Spike Lee. Nice guy.
Yes,
but he tries to play the race thing a little bit too much. Especially, everybody was having a pretty good show, and it didn't really bother me because I think then he starts dancing up there. I just started acting like the goof, and
he was drunk. That's what it was. He was slurring his words. He was dancing. He was just having such a good time. And then when he lost for Best Picture, and he lost to that movie that he didn't particularly care for because he didn't like the idea that somebody was driving somebody else or something like that. I don't know what he said, but
what the hell is that? If it was the other way around, he'd say something. Driving Miss Daisy was a great movie. There was nothing wrong. This is a true story.
Right.
I don't care if he likes it or not. Does he understand it was a true story? The black man's name was Don Shirley. Mm-hmm. The white man's name, he was Italian. It was Viggo Mortensen. What was his name in the movie? I can't even remember it anymore.
Let me look it up real quick. Okay.
But anyway, it's a true story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
go ahead.
Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't like Normandy. I didn't like Private Ryan. Mm-hmm. But it's a true story. I'm sorry it happened. But it happened. I don't know what's he supposed to do? I don't like that story. Yeah, too bad. It's true. And it was a pertinent story in the 1960s. Now you got me going again, Steve.
I knew I would.
My God. I mean, what is going on? Everything's judged so much. Everybody's judging, like Shaky said. Shaky didn't even want to do Smokey the referee. That's how sad it is. That's how sad it is on a podcast.
Times have changed.
He's still working.
Yeah, times have changed. Tony Lip.
Boy, Times are changing. Jeez. Tony Lips. That's it.
That's it.
I love it.
Vigil. I don't know how to pronounce
Vigo.
it. Viggo Mortensen played Tony.
Shaky said, well, wait a minute. Hold on. Viggo Mortensen was in Avalanche. Viggo Mortensen was Up the Staircase. I go, what the hell is he talking about? Those movies don't hit home with me. Do your Viggo Mortensen movies hit home with you?
Yeah, well, I've seen a few that I mean, he was in Lord of the Rings, which everybody in the chat room say, Mike doesn't know that he was in Lord of the Rings. Well, Mike was probably
Lord of the Rings is for dorks that get picked on, okay? Lord of the Rings is for kids who get bullied and hide in their closets. What the hell's the matter with everybody?
Well, he was in a movie that I know you saw and you probably like a lot, Crimson Tide with Denzel Washington, Gene Hackman.
Yes, he was good in that. He played the mate, the second in command, or third in command. That's a good one. I agree. I love him in this one. I love him.
Yeah, he's always been a pretty good actor, but you're right. He doesn't have this presence where, you can immediately say, oh, yeah, he was in this.
Yeah.
There's something about him. Good actor, but he's not. He doesn't have that star quality at least for me. Anyway.
No, not really. And I thought, he could have gotten something for that, but he played good. He played a good role and stuff like that. I was more into it a little bit. I didn't want to watch it. I saw the highlights. I'm not going to lie. I read about it in the paper. I watched Minnesota Rutgers last night.
Uh-huh.
So, I had money on the game, so I wasn't going to watch the Oscars. And I didn't need to see a lot of the garbage anyway. I like to see the good stuff at the end, find out who won for best, picture. And the kid from Bohemian Rhapsody, I was thrilled for him.
Oh,
I was absolutely thrilled for him.
I
guess he's dating the girl that played his wife in the movie.
Yes, nice choice there, Mr. Ram Malik, whatever your name is. Nice choice. I did see the movie over the weekend, Mike, Bohemian Rhapsody, and I got to tell you, I think I liked it as much or maybe even more than you did. I thought it was a good movie, and all this criticism that people have been throwing at it, it's not totally authentic, the timeline is wrong, they got some stuff about his gay lifestyle wrong. Who cares? It's a movie. It's not a testament from God about his life. It's a movie for entertainment.
Remember I told you that they were going to, they do that. Even with, they died with their boots on. They take creative liberties.
Yes.
For my movie, they might have to do some stuff I may not want to do. Mm-hmm. You may need a character here to fill in a blank here or something like that. I'm with you 100%. Did you like it better than Star is Born?
I did, actually. I was surprised. I was surprised, but I did, and my wife did as well. We watched both movies, and at the end, I said, which one did you like better? She said Bohemian Rhapsody. I go, I did too, yeah.
That's it. I agree, and it was a good movie, and it was a good year for the movie. Some different ideas came out. So, at least people seem, I don't know what the ratings were. I haven't heard.
I heard that they were up from last year. They were up from last year, but overall, I don't know if the TV executives were happy with it. The fact that they cut down the show, last year was 4 hours long, and this year came in at 3 hours and 15 minutes, helped with the ratings.
Oh, I agree with that. I think there's no doubt that would be, to me, that's one of the big things. Nobody cares about a lot of the categories anymore. I mean, sometimes you have to take a break. That they were trying to get rid of, the makeup category. I think that's wrong. But I thought that, for the most part, they put on a good show. So, that, I'm happy for that. I like the kid from Bohemian Rhapsody.
He's a star. I think that kid's going to be a star. I really believe it.
Well, you know what? I like the fact that him and that girl are going out. I mean, that's old school.
Yeah.
You end up dating the girl you were on the lead with and stuff like that. And here, I'm going to just say this. For all these people out there, Bradley Cooper's girlfriend is nothing to worry about, okay? Seriously. Jesus.
You're not a fan
It's like going between a French poodle and a bulldog. Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind? I'm sorry. It's like a collie or a rattlesnake. My God.
You don't like the way she looks, huh?
Gaga's okay. She's okay. There's an old saying: you can drink them pretty, just you can't drink them thin. I could drink Gaga pretty, but But she's not that Brad Cooper's girlfriend. Let's not get confused here. Am I wrong?
I'm not going to argue with you. Nobody.
What? Am I wrong or right?
Nobody's objecting, though.
If I'm keeping score, it was 9-6.
9-6.
That's just me. Oh my God! Did you see them so close? She better be worried. No, Brad Cooper better be worried. Huh?
All
My
right.
God!
What a great way to end the show.
Yeah. We can't get fined, can we?
No.
I told you we're not getting invited to the Oscars.
I don't think so. Well, when your movie is nominated, we have to erase this.
Burt Reynolds should have been nominated for the last movie star. My guy Adam Rifkin. My guy, he should have been nominated. Didn't happen, but next year, or hopefully when the movie's made and it's coming around, we will be nominated. Aldo, great time, buddy.
Man, I laughed a lot, and it's therapeutic. Being with Mike North is therapeutic. Great memories, great talk, lots of fun, great laughs. Thank you very much, Mike. Say goodbye to your fans.
And thanks. Goodbye, everybody. And thanks, Shaky. Thanks to Shaky Siuntres and the Fidoliak Law Group, and, of course, Dick Split. So long, everybody.